honestly, and I've said this to guys, and guys are like, nah. Most women don't orgasm during sex with their partner or with a guy because it's so fast and it's so rushed and it's so just getting there. They usually don't even have an orgasm. They're just faking it to get it over with because she can't.
That I want to say, like, please, women, stop faking orgasm. It doesn't help anyone.
I agree. It doesn't help.
Like, have you heard the definition of Alan Watts about love? He says that love is like when you see the white light going through a prism and then the rainbow appears. And he says that love is that white light, like it's all. And when it goes, can be from the lust to the divine.
So I was always really in my masculine. And in that moment, if a guy had come up to me in the street and been like, you're really beautiful, can I take you for a coffee? I'd have been like, how dare you, right? But then I go through this whole shift of moving more into my feminine as a result of plant medicine, being ill, twin flame experience, all these different things that cracked me open.
And I'm gonna exhale and give you my energy, and you receive it with your receptiveness, and you pull it up to your heart, and then from your heart you penetrate my heart. Sometimes I think I don't know shit about women. Like till the day.
Trust me.
I feel like
I don't know shit about men as well. Just when I'm like, nope. All right,
but
clearly
we're just having a dialogue. We're not
just working
perhaps teachers of relationships.
No.
Okay, Malina, so here we are after perhaps a couple of years planning to do a podcast or something.
A long time.
But we are ready to just have a dialogue about how is it to be single, more than 30.
More than 40 in my case.
38 in my case, but how are relationships? How is it that we relate and we are actually like changing the paradigm of old, like monogamous, like when I was raised believing that you will find the one and get married and be monogamous and exclusive for all your life. But in my case, that doesn't work because in this society like machista, many men are the unfaithful ones, but like, for example, once I was having a meal with two really close men to me, and they were talking about their being unfaithful. And I was just listening, and I asked them, what if your woman were unfaithful? And both said, a la chingada. And I was like, why is it different?
Yeah, exactly.
What should men have the right to be cheatful and lying and not the women? And that's why I think that you and I have experienced changing the way of relating.
Paradigm.
Like,
Yeah, I think that we're going through such a huge shift in consciousness from 3D to 5D, from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. There's all of these different things going on.
Age of Aquarius.
So obviously if this shift in consciousness is happening, and we're right, this is what I tell a lot of my clients, that we're right in the peak right now of this shift in consciousness, the biggest shift that humanity has ever and will ever experience. Okay, so going from from this dimension to this dimension. So that's huge. And so, of course, with that, so many things are going to change. The way we relate, the way we work. And particularly for me, the most important thing on earth is love. Like, for me, that is what the whole of existence really is love. Okay. When I've connected to the divine, when I've connected to the all that is, the energy is love. I mean, the word love it doesn't do it justice at all, right? And I know with all your psychedelic experiences, when you connect to that oneness, to that higher consciousness, whenever I try and share afterwards, I'm like, it's just love. So love is everything. Love is what we're here to experience. So the biggest thing that is obviously going to change is going to be love. And as we raise our vibration and consciousness, we start to learn that love is abundant. So that, as you say, that old template, this old boxy, square, patriarchal template of this is a relationship, it's not going to work anymore, because we're shifting, the planet's shifting, our vibration's shifting, everything shift. The way that we work is changing, the way that we relate in friendships is changing, the way that we want to have a family is changing. And I don't feel that anything is good or bad or right or wrong. Like, there's monogamy, there's polyamory, there's open relationships. Cheating for me isn't we're in a relationship, you go and have sex with another woman. For me, that doesn't mean cheating. Cheating is when you pretend it's one thing and do another. That's the betrayal. When somebody says, we're monogamous, let's just be me and you exclusive, but then one goes to be with someone else and doesn't share that, that's cheating.
That's the lie itself, right?
It's the lie. That's the betrayal. That's
whether you're
the
polyamorous or monogamous,
whatever.
if you lie,
cheat.
cheat.
Or you hide it, right? So for me, the secret is transparency, honesty, congruence, communication. Because everyone's different, and even I've had times in my life where I want this and times when I want that and times when I want this. For me, monogamy is more what I resonate with. But I've tried different things, because how do you know? But the difference is I've always been really honest, really transparent. So the cheating part, it's like, I think a lot of people think it's right to be monogamous and we should be or we shouldn't be. No, we can be whatever we want to be, but I think it's an agreement between two or more people that just say, what are you looking for?
Like with the time you shared with me the anarchy of relationships. Yes, I read that and it really makes sense, because, for example, I've been single for 3.5 years, but I've had many connections, honest. Like, exactly. I haven't lied, like cheat, like since 5 years ago, you know, because I was unfaithful too, you know, I was raised like that and it was normal. But you were talking about love. And have you heard the definition of Alan Watts about love? He says that love is like the cover of Pink Floyd, like when you see the white light going through a prism and then the rainbow appears. And he says that love is that white light, like it's all. And when it goes, can be from the lust to the divine, you know, but it's the same, you know. And for example, we talked many times about how porn have fucked us up, like a limited perspective about men or women always be ready for penetration, right? Like the call for the follow, you know. And also I've tried like divine love, like multi-orgasm and deeper connections and tantric practices and breathing and like connecting the chakras and everything. But I think it's time for us to acknowledge that from the divine to the lust,
it's all part of it.
It's part of the unconscious, collective unconscious, you know, like it lives within our psyche, you know, like biologically, like animalistic, you know, like if you see how animals mate each other and all the crazy things like the birds do, you know, like try to peacock, you know, the peacock, you know,
like your cat.
Like my cat. And it's like trying to embrace, you know, that we are animals, humans, and divine beings.
All of it. We're all of it.
You know, like we can be like, I felt like sometimes like the energy, like lustful with a partner. Yeah. And we go animal, you know, like we forget about Buddha or whatever. Just
of course.
Like,
and that's a part of it. For me, I think it's about consciousness. It's about where we're at in our level of consciousness and our level of connection. So there's no right or wrong. People are just at a different part of their journey of consciousness. But for me, if you're doing any of that with a level of consciousness, with a level of connection, with a level of presence, it can be raw, it can be animalistic, it can be connected. It doesn't always have to be like a prayer to the divine, right?
Yes.
But yes, there's the primal, there's the wild, there's all of that. My issue, as you know, because I've ranted about it 1,000 times with porn, well, there's many. But I think we could say the same about many things, right? We can talk about sex, we can talk about plant medicine, we can talk about meditation. Everything is about intention, for me, at least. This is what I've learned on my journey. Everything is about intention. So you can say, okay, I'm going to smoke a joint and I'm going to connect to the medicine of Santa Maria, and I'm going to have respect for this medicine, and I'm doing it to go deeper into myself. Or I'm super depressed, pissed off with life, and I want to completely disconnect, and I'm going to get stoned.
Mm-hmm.
The same with sex. Well, we'll talk about sex in a minute because that's the bigger topic, right? But anything you could say, I'm going to meditate because I want to go deeper, I want to find myself, I want to get insights, or I just want to connect up with the angels and disconnect from this reality because it's too painful. Neither is right or wrong anyway, but I think the whole point is intention. And are we trying to find ourselves, or are we trying to lose ourselves? And so sex, for me, in my experience,
could be like
is the closest way back to
distraction or a connection.
So when you have sex with intention, with consciousness, with purpose, with love, which is what it's supposed to be about, even if you meet this person for 3 weeks, but there's a connection, there's a vibe, there's a respect, there's a form
Even
of love.
If it could be like a one-night stand, you could do it with love.
Exactly.
You know, like one night.
So this is what sex is supposed to be. Like, it's the sacred union. And for me, exactly like the Alan Watts thing, right? If we go, there's this one light of the all that is. Before it gets into that spectrum, it goes into duality. It goes yin and yang, masculine and feminine. Not necessarily men and women, let's not even get into that, but it goes duality. So, and then from there it splits into everything else. So this duality, if this duality can merge, it connects with the divine.
Yes.
So the easiest, most beautiful way back to the divine, for me, is a man and a woman, or a male-female energy uniting with consciousness and with love and reconnecting. And for me, anyone who's had that experience, why wouldn't you want that, right? That's awesome. But the program, what's running on the planet, is because this is the quickest way back to the divine, and giving people the power to connect to the divine. And once people are all connected to the divine, they're not going to be wanting to pay for 6 months of Bumble and pay for all of their porn subscription and pay for cars and whatever, because they're just going to be making love all the time. So it's the program is saying, let's utilize this super powerful energy of sex and lust and primal instinct to deliberately disconnect people, to disconnect them from themselves, to disconnect them from the power of their sexual energy, and to disconnect them from this sacred union, which is the whole freaking point. And so men, instead of going, every single female I see is pretty much an animal to fuck, and I'm watching abuse, and I'm watching girls, and I'm watching all of this violent stuff, and actually it's just a whole, and the program comes in of like, oh yeah, she's just something to fuck, and there is an objectification. I'm not saying it from a feminist way, but then how is he going to be like the experiences you've had of like connecting to a woman with all of your heart and seeing this goddess and knowing that you're entering this sacred portal.
It's a temple. You know?
It's a temple, right?
It's a sacred temple.
This is the Holy Grail. It's not out there. It's not anywhere else. It's in that woman, right? And so this is why I get so upset about it, because porn is going, no, it's just a hole that you can penetrate, that you can fuck.
That's the thing,
this is pulling people away from the truth, and that's why it stresses me out.
Like, for example, I was raised like thinking that sex was meant for just 3-minute kissing, exactly. And then I get hard and I go in like 3 minutes and yes. You know, yeah. Like many times I have that program, like it was just about the penetration. Mm-hmm. But like since 5 years ago, I dated this woman that I had like sexual awakening, and we read together the Multi-Orgasmic Couple. And with that woman, she helped me to widen my spectrum about intimacy and pleasure, exactly. And love and connection. Mm-hmm. You know, and I realized that the woman, it's like in that book they said about the difference between man and woman is that we feel the fire, mm-hmm. And we are drawn to feel the excitation in our genitals, mm-hmm. And women is in the mind, like water. Mm-hmm. So the excitation comes first from the mind, then the drops come to the heart, and then to the mm-hmm. genitals. Mm-hmm. And for the men, it's other ways. Mm-hmm. They want to be touching their genitals, and then women can help them to arise, mm-hmm. the energy to the hearts, mm-hmm. and then to the divine.
The consciousness.
You know, and when I heard that, I read
what?
that, I was like, What?
Wait, what? And exactly, because
And then
porn
I
is just
gave-
showing
I
something
gave-
totally different.
It was the first woman that allowed me to explore, that she trusted me in my manhood. And I guided her like meditations, just with the world and a massage. And I was telling her, like, feel all the water, going in. Feel all your water united with all the rivers and the oceans. Feel like the sun, every atom has a sun and you're lighting. And I was just talking. When like half an hour later, when I approached her yoni, it was a waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Without me,
even touching sometimes.
yes,
Exactly.
and sometimes, like, what I would like to share with men is like the yoni is not always ready for penetration, and it actually changes its form when it opens, like visually
Like
you
a
can see
flower.
like a flower, and the best way for men to know when is it ready for penetration, in my case, is when the woman asks you,
Exactly.
like, I am ready, please fuck me, not before. That's the best way to know.
But like the world we live in, because of this programming of porn and everything else, first of all, men don't have even if they've had 500 women, most men don't know that, because they just go straight in and like they think it's a button, and you're like, literally to women that's like, seriously, what are you doing? It is such a turn off. It's like, dude. And what's interesting is, if guys have been married or in long-term relationships, typically they're better, they know what they're doing. If a guy's just been like short-term relationships forever, you pretty much know it's going to be like beep, 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 and you're just like, literally, I can't even tell you. And women talk about this all the time. We're just like, what is that? It's not interesting. It's not sexual. It's not exciting. He could spend all day messaging you and not even be in the same room and be saying certain things, and we can be more turned on than a guy that just comes up and touches you. Like, oh my gosh. But this is the program that we're in. And so most men don't know. Most men don't care. Sex becomes more of a control factor, actually, of just like, it's about penetration and how many women I can get and whatever. And it's not their fault. Like, obviously, if porn is so readily accessible in this device in their hand, well, what are they going to do?
Perhaps the only education we have.
Exactly. So they don't know. And if a woman then says, because there's this programming of, oh, well, the woman's always ready on porn, right? So if a woman suddenly goes, I'm not ready yet, or can you touch me more, or can you massage me, it's almost like, oh.
And for example, for men, like when a woman tells
rejection.
you, like, suggests you something, it's really hard for a man that it's not work on his ego.
Exactly.
To
they see it
feel
as
bad,
rejection.
because I felt that.
Yeah.
Like when a woman was like, I'm not enjoying it, I was like, oh no, I do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and you are not.
There's something wrong with you, and you're frigid and whatever.
And I think
like,
that
no.
the way of trying to communicate, like, I've had this connection with a woman like 1 month ago, and she told me about the wheel of consent. Like, she told me, we're going to explore, but please, whatever you ask permission first, and then ask me, are you enjoying the thing? How do you want it? Harder, softer, where? And just try to communicate because if we learn how to communicate, the pleasure could be greater for both parties, because, for example, for men, I'm not always to penetrate, and I would sometimes like a ball massage or a massage, or kisses or hugging you or cuddle or talk, different things. And if we put ourselves like in a student's mind, like a beginner's mind, again, like every day, because everything the thing that you liked yesterday, perhaps you're not going to like today.
Exactly. And in every moment, your mood is different. Exactly like you said earlier, sometimes it's wild, sometimes it's crazy, sometimes it's divine. But it depends on your mood, right? And like, you've got to feel into that as well. If the guy's in the mood to just be super rough and she's like had a hard day at work and she's really sensitive, or vice versa, it's just not going to work. And the problem is that no one's communicating, because it's like it feels like an attack of their ego. And so there's a lot of women. I've only found out, I was at a dinner party once with a bunch of girls and we got talking about orgasms and different things and different types of orgasms, and someone was like, oh, you can orgasm, oh wow, that's good that you can orgasm that way. And in the room they were like, I can't even remember the last time I had an orgasm. Me neither. And I was like, what? Honestly, and I've said this to guys, and guys are like, nah. Most women don't orgasm during sex with their partner or with a guy because it's so fast and it's so rushed and it's so just get in there. They usually don't even have an orgasm. They're just faking it to get it over with because she can't.
That I want to say, like, please, women, stop faking orgasm. It doesn't help anyone.
I agree. It doesn't help.
Like,
but
it's better for.
If they say, "Hey, I'm not ready. Hey, can you massage me some?" What's wrong with you? Well, what happens? They shut down. And they shut down and they go, well, I can't ask you and I can't give you advice and I can't give you feedback and I can't be tender.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's hard for the ego, you know.
I know, but all of this, what we're talking about, all comes down to a level of consciousness. Because when a guy is not conscious and he hasn't worked on himself and he hasn't worked on his ego, everything that we're saying, he doesn't even care. He's just like, whatever. Because he's still in that program of just like, keep going, keep shagging, however many women possible. I think it's only when, and it's different from men and women because we're naturally more connected to our emotions. Typically, women with a lot of trauma have now learned to just shut it off, right? But typically we're more emotional. But for men, if they haven't done that level of work, they don't even care. And it's almost like a woman can say whatever, do whatever. He just doesn't care because he's not there. And this is why the programming of porn and the way guys are talking to one another, it's not opening up a society that's encouraging true connection, true intimacy, true love is kind of like lost. Because these days it's just easy to go, actually, on the contrary to what you're saying, it can be really pleasurable and you can just cuddle and whatever. It's more and more common these days that guys are just like, and girls, I'm sure, they just want to go next. And as soon as it starts to get deeper and their heart starts to open, they're like, whoa, all my shit's coming up now. I don't want it. Let's close that off next and have another 2 months next and have another 2 weeks next. So they never have to go in. And for me, I saw a thing earlier on Instagram that said, a true man with courage is the one who's ready to open his heart and love.
Yes.
For me, all these men going, yeah, like I've got balls and I do this and I go and make it happen. Oh, but I don't want to love. For me, that's like, dude, you haven't got balls. Like that for me is really a lack of courage. Because true courage is anybody.
It's being able to be
to open
vulnerable,
your heart and be vulnerable. Yeah, and to go, amazing. I want to give and receive love and I want to make you happy and I want you to make me happy and I want to really connect. Like that takes balls.
Yes, because you know, like the heart, it really hurts. You know, when you break up with someone. Yeah. You know, because I feel that when I was younger, when I was a kid, I was more lovingly like. Yeah. In the day, you know, I hugged people like with all my heart, you know, and I was like really loving. And then you start
get
to
them more,
like, for
more
example,
barriers.
In my childhood, I was like in my 7-year-old birthday, I was attracted to this beautiful girl. You know, we were the same age, and then she came out to the slide, and when I was waiting for her at the bottom, and I just were like mwah, and I kissed her, and then. She hit you. You know? Since that, yeah, but that was my first encounter with rejection, and perhaps I have like a trauma, you know, in my mind of that moment. But you start to getting hurt, like it really, the heart hurts, you know, when you miss someone and you have a breakup or have a rejection. Like rejection feels like shit.
But you know, I feel that we've all got our traumas, rejection, abandonment, betrayal, whatever. But I see commonly with clients that a lot of women have the wound of abandonment and a lot of men have the wound of rejection. But I think a lot of men are so afraid of rejection that they reject first. They're so afraid of that pain of rejection, they'd rather not love. So as soon as they start to crack open, whoop, I'm so terrified that in some moment of falling in love with you, you're going to reject me. I'm going to reject you now before we get to that point.
And that's the thing.
Whereas I think
because
women
it's like
are
trying to open your heart again, like when we used to do, and it's scary.
Of
you
course
know?
it is.
Could be...
It's a spectrum, right? Like I see it like this. This is like just being in the middle. And this is the spectrum of pain, and this is the spectrum of pleasure and love, right? So if you go, I don't want to feel pain, I only want to feel that much pain, I don't want to feel that much pain, then you're only going to feel that much joy, and you're not going to feel that much joy. So everyone, the world that we live in is pleasure, 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 joy, joy, joy. They want all the good, but they're not prepared to feel the bad. So that's why everyone's spending all the time watching porn, jerking off, being on their phone, looking at all of these amazing influencers, whatever crap. So they're like pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. But if you're not prepared to go to this end of the spectrum,
to the shadow work,
you cannot go to love. And so, okay, I don't want to feel pain, block. I'm going to feel pleasure again.
Next.
So you're just going to be like this all the time. Whereas I would rather say, yes, it hurts. Yes, the heartbreak is horrible when you've put everything into something and then you get rejected and then someone disappears. Yes, it freaking hurts. But is it not worth the love that you get to experience? Like, it's a spectrum, and you can't have one without the other. And for me, these people who are trying to just feel good because they don't want to feel bad, that it's almost like there's an undertone constantly every day of like el vacío, like this emptiness that's constantly residing. So it's like, dude, just go meet another girl, get yourself on Tinder, go and jerk off to porn, go and have another mezcal. Like, it's these dopamine hits because I don't want to feel that void that's simmering every day.
Yes.
So as soon as someone comes along and opens the lid on that and starts to crack open the love and the pain and the fear and the rejection and all of that, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, let's just like cover that again and go back to the pleasure. But these dopamine hits and these pleasures, it's just putting a plaster on the fact that beneath that is this void. Because deep down, I really believe, even though we're in a different world and online dating and non-monogamy and whatever, don't we all just want love and connection at the end of the day? Isn't that what we're here for?
Yes.
Like, isn't that the truth of what, for me, what differentiates us from a cat or a dog or a tiger is that we're here to love, we're here to raise our consciousness, we're here to connect on a completely different level.
But sometimes it's hard.
It's hard.
You know, for example, we were talking about, in my case, I've had many experiences, great experience with great women, but I've had many rejections or friend-zoned, but I've never like actually learned how to hit on women. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you introduce me to a friend, I'm in, you know, but for me, like the actual going in, like hunt, like another woman, like approach, and it's like, what should I say, you know, and feel the nervousness. And for me, I am trying to be more direct, and I'm acknowledging that I am a conscious man, you know. I don't just, like my spectrum of intimacy has widened a lot, you know. But at the same time, we are in an age of feminism, of women being abused, being hit every day going to work, you know, and they're like, no, like you don't approach women, you know, and they're with their headphones. But imagine how many millions of people are on Bumble or on Tinder that could be the person that is in front of you at the coffee shop, that wants some kind of connection.
To me. Like, I actually realised that a guy I was dating, when we had a chat, and we were like, oh yeah, I used to go to this park. Ah, yeah, you live near that park? I used to go there. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, when I was there then. And we figured out that we'd passed each other. But because the world we live in is, I'm so busy, like all of my options are in my pocket in this screen, and I can't go and speak to a real person.
So
what the hell?
What's your thoughts about hitting on women? Do you think that women...
It's an interesting one.
Do you... Yes.
So there's
How do you feel
there's
as
a
a
few
woman?
topics in there, right? There's a lot that we need to unwrap there. The feminism thing is another thing that I'm going to cover that might trigger people, but whatever. I think this, first of all, the thing of men no longer just going up to a woman, I think is the fear of rejection. And I think that the world of online dating has made it really easy to avoid that fear of rejection, because it's just, hey, oh, it feels a bit funky, I'll just ghost that person and go to the next one and whatever, right? So it's ultimately fear of rejection, I think.
Yes.
But now it's all mixed up in this, like, I mean, not so much here, but in the US, you can actually get sued for hitting someone in the street, right? Like, if you just go up to a woman and go, you're really beautiful, like, literally, she might sue you. I've heard that story.
You know,
now,
and that puts like a lot of more pressure to men.
Yeah.
You know, like, want to meet women,
exactly.
to dance,
like,
to play, to sing, to fuck.
Like, I'm going to be honest, I feel like I've had a whole evolution. So the old me, the corporate boss babe, all of that aspect that I used to be, I guess was kind of feminist. I wouldn't have called myself that, but I was. I didn't even know. This is another program running, right? So for men it might be porn and whatever, but for women there's this program running of like, we've got to be equal, we've got to go make it happen, we've got to earn the money, we've blah blah blah. So I was always really in my masculine. And in that moment, if a guy had come up to me in the street and been like, you're really beautiful, can I take you for a coffee? I'd have been like, how dare you, right? And now that doesn't happen in the UK anyway, because there's so much sensitivity around it and you can't just hit on women. And even some women, if you open the door for them, they're going to get offended and all of that stuff. But then I go through this whole shift of moving more into my feminine as a result of plant medicine, being ill, twin flame experience, all these different things that cracked me open, right? And I think Mexico has been the final hurdle of, it's such a different energy, it's so flowy and movie and chaotic that you can't stick to your plans, and like, it's just cracked me open. And I feel like finally I'm more in my feminine. And it's only happened since I've got to Mexico City that probably I would say on average once a week a guy in the street will come up to me and just be like, hey, you're really beautiful, da, 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 da. Like, do you want to go for a coffee? And I'm like, the first time it happened, I was like, what the hell? Because it's never happened to me before. It's never happened in the UK. And I've got to be honest, it's nice. It's like, you might be having a shitty day, or half the time I've got my hair scraped up, I'm going to yoga and I've just got out of bed. And sometimes they're like 24, 30, and they're like, hey, you're really beautiful. And I'm like, wow, that takes balls. Honestly, even I've never once gone, yeah, okay, let's go. But I'm like, wow, that takes balls. And I
what
really
did you say?
admire. I just go, oh, thank you for saying that. Like, that's really sweet. But I might say I'm seeing someone, or I've got a partner, or I'm not interested, or I'm going to yoga or whatever. But I'm always like, thank you, because I'm like, wow, that takes balls. And for me, I think it's really nice that somebody can just come up and say, you're beautiful. Like, that feels really lovely. But I know a lot of women might get offended, so it's very much about the woman and the situation. But now, the thing is, there's a couple of points in that. Number one is, I think there's a fine line between a man being in his masculine and being like, you're really beautiful and I just want to share that with you, or being a bit sleazy, because the sleazy energy is not cool, right? So that's like a little bit of a fine balance, because sometimes there can be more of a sleazy thing, and that's like, oh.
Okay, if any man would be listening to this podcast,
It'll be like, how do I know the difference?
What tips could give us to men about hitting on women?
I mean, this is coming from me. Like, I'm in more of a feminine receptive. I'm open to it. But a lot of women are not. Like, when I was at university, if a guy came up and said to one friend in particular, you're beautiful, or do you want a drink, she'd smack him. And I was like, wow, that's a bit intense. So this is like, I'm not speaking on behalf of all women.
Have you slapped a man in your life? No?
I threw a bread roll at my ex because I was so angry. That's about as harsh. I don't really get angry. A bread roll. I don't really get angry though, to be honest. Like, that's part of what I need to work on. My anger's very suppressed. So it's a difficult one, because we live in a world where a lot of women are not comfortable being in their feminine, and a lot of women think that equal rights means, you know, don't open the door for me and whatever. I personally like it if a guy opens the door for me, stands on the side of the pavement close to the road, puts my jacket on me, pays for my dinner. Like, I really like that, personally.
I really
Why?
like to.
Because it's like
all
this.
things.
Why? Because it's like a masculine
But for me,
holding. It's like actually the masculine energy is to penetrate, and the feminine energy is to receive. And I think these days we've completely lost that. It's not to say that a woman can't pay for dinner and open her own door. Of course she can. But it's really nice, I think, when we're trying to be more feminine, to receive. In a world where it's not necessarily a given anymore. It's part of the reason I like Mexico, because it's more ingrained that a guy will always open the door for you, always pull your chair out for you. I really like that, but a Mexican man in the US told me that he opened the Uber door for a girl, and she was like, I'm going to ring the police. Like, how dare you? And he's like, what?
I dated with this woman from Greece, and I took her to dinner, and I opened the door, and she told me, like, really angry or upset, like, do you think I'm dumb and I cannot open the door for myself? And I was like,
wow,
fuck. And then I
and
get
then
scared.
you get scared, exactly.
You know, next time I ask. I literally ask.
Can I open the door for you?
So do you mind if how do you feel this, you know?
And this is the thing, I like Mexico because there's still a lot of that chivalrous, gentlemanly behaviour that in the UK, US, forget about it, right? Like, it just isn't the thing. Like, I had some dates here in the city with guys from the US that, like, when the bill comes, they just look at you and, like, you both have to get your card out and split it. And, like, I get it, because they're probably like, well, every girl in the US smacks me across the face if I try and pay. But I actually really like that about Mexico. But that's because of where I'm at in my journey and where I'm at in my femininity,
I think we can
you know?
come back to the communication, you know?
Communication. I think as well, it's
you
feeling
spoke
it.
about penetration and receptiveness, and I would like to share in the video, if you mind, a meditation to connect. And, like, it's just, I learned this with a tantric teacher, and it's about holding hands. Come closer. And I'm gonna exhale and give you my energy, and you receive it with your receptiveness, and you pull it down up to your heart, and then from your heart you penetrate my heart.
I've done this before too.
And then you just want to and then you can go there, and then I can pull it to my brain, and
now what do I do? Inhale.
you inhale, and then you exhale from your heart, and I go down, and you inhale, and you exhale, and up, inhale, and exhale, and you are in this moment being penetrative as a man, and you receptiveness, but you penetrate me with your heart.
That actually, so that's something I learned through Tantra. That, and this is a really good one for people listening. So that is how it works energetically. So the masculine energy goes out from here because that's his power center, and our energy goes out from here because that's our power center. So we need to be aware of this as men and women, right? Our natural power center as women is our heart. A man's natural power center is his sexual energy, right? So somebody said this to me, that in the same way as we were talking about earlier, that if a guy just comes up to you and pushes your button and goes, let's go, and we're not ready, it feels really invasive. It's like, whoa. It feels abusive, actually. It feels abusive because we're like, I'm not ready. Whether they just come to kiss you or whatever, it's like, whoa. But similarly, apparently, if a man's not open and the woman just comes in and starts being emotional and starts going, how are you feeling? And what's, he's also like, it's the same energy.
A great example, yes.
It's a great example, because for us it's really natural to just go, how are you feeling? But to men it's like, whoa. And actually, even my therapist said to me, the way to connect with a man emotionally is through his penis. Like, you have sex and then you can open up topics of conversation.
All right.
Whereas with women, it's the other way around. Like, you've got to get her heart open. Like, guys, please, if there's one thing you can learn, you've got to open her up here and here, before here.
It's
and
like the water drops I said before.
But this is why we're in a world that's so crazy, because everyone's just out having sex. And the man goes, they don't really want intimacy or connection or commitment. But actually, if you're having good sex, that woman should be connected in her heart. And if she isn't, she's not having good sex, mate. Let me tell you that for nothing. Because if you're just going in and you think you're the best lover in the world, but she's not open here, she's not enjoying it. So for her to be enjoying this regular sex that people are having, she's got to be open here. Then when she falls in love, it's like, oh no, don't fall in love. This was just a sex thing. So it's like, for me, this is all completely bonkers, because it's like, for a woman, sex should, if we're healthy and connected, we should be opening here first. So I think for men, it is easy to just have sex here because that's the power center. But there has to be an awareness that if you penetrate a woman over and over again, you should be opening her heart. And if you are, she's going to fall in love with you. And this is the difference between men and women. So we've got a world where everyone's just having sex and just having fun. But this is why after a while it's not fun anymore, because she's always going to fall in love, unless he's a really bad lover. And then she's just like, okay, crack on. You need to finish. And that's when she fakes it and like just move on. But if it's actually fun and enjoyable and whatever, she'll naturally be open in here. And then exactly as you say, the work is for her to help him, for his energy to then raise into his heart. But most guys don't want that, because that's when it's like, oh, now I'm feeling stuff, this isn't what I want. But this is why we're in a world that's like not really working, because women are trying to go along with this man's world of just having fun and just going and having sex. We don't work like that. It's just not the way we're built. And loads of women have said to me, that's not true. We can do what we want. We can be empowered. We can shag who we want. Yeah, we can. But the truth is, we're more likely to get attached. That's just the truth. It's feminist. Yeah, go and shag as many men as you want, but there's a few facts. One, good sex for us, we have to be connected here. If we're connected here, we're going to fall in love. If we fall in love and he just wants sex, we're going to end up getting hurt. Facts, right? Which is why I always say to people, casual sex is not for me. Because I'm going to get intimate. I'm going to open my heart. I'm going to open your heart. And there's going to be more feelings. So are we up for that or not, right?
But that would be great. Like, for example, if you meet a man and told him that.
Yeah, but everyone
since
says
first date.
Yeah, but it doesn't work like that. Because everyone's like, yeah.
Perhaps like you will have rejections. Like, I'm not into your game.
Yeah.
But if we are authentic, that what do you really want? Mm-hmm. Someday you will find.
Of course.
like.
But a lot of people. This is a whole other conversation. But a lot of people think they want one thing and they don't. So I'll tell you, you'll know this because of the sorts of people you engage with. There's having connections, relations, sex with a woman. And then there's having relations and sex and connection with a conscious woman. And a conscious woman is going to crack the walls of that heart. And it's more painful and it's more intense. So a guy can be like, yeah, I'm up for that. Sure, that sounds great. And then 2 months down the line, they're like, whoa.
Yeah,
like, I'm seeing all my shadow, all my love, all my power, and that's a lot. So, trust me, so many people are like, yeah, that sounds good to me. But then once it's
like, if you met me and told me that, if I hit on you, if we didn't meet, I hit on you, imagine like the parallel universe.
In a sliding doors moment.
Yes, and I open the door and you're like, oh yeah, what's your phone and blah, and you tell me that on the first date, I will be like, oh yeah,
but that's
I know.
But you're conscious, and you're at that level of your
Sometimes
journey.
I think I don't know shit about women.
Yeah.
Like till the day.
And trust me,
I feel like
I don't know shit about men as well. Just when I'm like, nope. All right,
but
clearly back
we're
to
just
the
having a
drawing board.
dialogue. We're
just working
perhaps
it out.
teachers of relationships, but
But it's good to share.
We love to
this
talk
stuff.
about these things. Like we've talked like 30 hours, you and I,
And now we're finally recording it.
Okay,
but
so
I just wanted to say one more thing on the penetration thing.
Okay.
Just one more thing. Because I think when I try and explain to people about the masculine, feminine energy, nature teaches us about everything, right? So we can go into like, well, the world is changing and whatever, but ultimately, let's look at nature, let's look at sex. The masculine penetrates the feminine. So the womb is waiting, and when she's ready, she opens. and the masculine penetrates. Even if we think of an egg waiting to be fertilized, and there's all of these different sperm that come along and fertilize it, right? And so the masculine energy is to penetrate, and the feminine energy is to receive. So we can talk as much as we want about all of these things in the world, and it shouldn't be whatever, but the truth of the matter is that's how it works. So the masculine to go out into the world and penetrate, and the feminine to receive. That's why I think it's nice to have dinner paid for you, to have the door opened for you, because it's all like providing, penetrating. And one more thing I want to say to finish off the podcast, that increasingly I keep meditating and feeling this. So not everybody, and not necessarily how we are, but a lot of the dating world has men not wanting to commit, and maybe talking to or dating or being with several women at a time. And a lot of the women who are anxious, who are going, I think this is the one, and like putting all of her expectations on him. So he's not really meeting her needs. He's not meeting this one person's needs, but he's still trying to be with various women. And she's going, I want you to meet my needs, and it's not really happening. Now, what my guides keep showing me is, if the male energy is to go, like think about all these sperm aiming for that one egg. And think about who's like a really conscious, divine, masculine example, say Tony Robbins, right? Usually they go, this is my mission, this is my woman, this is my family, and they're focused and they're strong, right? But women's energy is very like flowy and creative, and it's like, well, I need this, but I also need this, and I also need that. So we're disappointed because we're wanting this one man to meet our needs. So if we all cut ego and fear out of the equation, and we were all just living from love, maybe a template that would work better would be that the man goes, I'm going to commit to you. I'm going to open my heart and have the balls to actually commit to you, a woman, this amazing woman, this vessel that I can get so much information and wisdom from. And I think that's going to make him rise. And she goes, great, but I'm not going to like spend all my time going, but you have to do everything for me, because I love salsa dancing and you don't, but Miguel does. And I love a foot massage and you don't like doing that, but Carlos does. I'm only going to have sex with you, but I've got these needs that would be really cool. And then she's going to be super happy. He's going to be super happy. Because most men are like, I've got my job. I've got my... Even a lot of the relationships are like, I can't really be bothered today. So if they're committing to just one woman and focusing, but she's going, well, you're meeting my needs, you're meeting my needs, you're meeting my needs, but you're like my main guy, I think we'd all be happier. But our ego and our fear of rejection and abandonment and whatever is getting in the way. But I'm suddenly like, that would be an interesting experiment.
I don't know. I hear you and I feel you, and it's amazing what you shared. But for me, I am realizing that perhaps I am polyamorous. You know, I fancy many girls at the same time. And when I'm with one, I love her in the moment and I don't think of anyone else. Mm-hmm. But then I have like another creationship that our friend Marit, that I recorded a podcast with her, told me, like, I love to create, like to mix creativity with sexuality, like that mix for me, it's amazing. However it lasts, you know, could be 3 weeks, could be 2 months. But I think that I really love and can be and can feel attraction in many ways with many women. You know, in different connections.
Like you can have, this is where relationship anarchy comes in, because it's like, let's no longer put a label on like, this is this relationship, which means this, and we're in a box. I think the reality is we can have love with many people and needs met with many people. But I do see that with a lot of, at least men who are aligned to their mission, their purpose, and they're being very like focused, typically they commit to one woman. I'm sure they have lots of women, friends, whatever connections, but they kind of commit in that sense to one woman. That's my observation. The ones who are really like rising in their masculine energy and in their purpose and in their mission and being super focused, pretty much are always like in a sacred union.
Like for me, I have my mission and my purpose. It's putting out my film, Corrente, and meet an artistic woman and co-create that film like for 3 years or 2 years with her, like an artistic mind and exploring, I would be so faithful to you to
and
explore the divine dimensions with one person.
Because you're saying like I have these women and creationships, but maybe that's because you haven't met the woman that you want to be with, because when you do, you probably would want to be like, I just want to commit to you. And I think that would naturally make you rise in your...
That would be Emma Watson for me.
Okay, who knows? But anyway, I think it's an interesting way of like flipping things on its head and going, what could the future of relationship templates look like? Boom! Finally, we recorded it.
Thanks a lot, Malina. I love you.
Thank you. That was cool.